Let's get started. I want to ask you all a question. What is the scarce resource that we as a society simply cannot get enough of? The one we deal with every day, regardless of education level or background. Why do so many people around the world go to work? Well, it's money. Interacting with money is an essential part of everyone's lives, whether that's in the form of spending it, making it, managing it, or any combination thereof. Now I want to ask you all another question. With money being such an essential part of everyone's lives, does it not seem only rational to teach high schoolers how to do the aforementioned tasks? Well, no. Apparently not. This is according to every major school system in the world. The local public school systems don't do this. The IGCSE system doesn't do this. And the education system that I'm enrolled in, the International Baccalaureate, doesn't do this either. Yeah, that last line is going to get me in trouble with the principal. Now you must be thinking, but why is a 15-year-old thinking about this? Shouldn't he be thinking about his schoolwork or video games or girls like a stereotypical 15-year-old would? And the reason's simple. Memes. That's right. Those same memes that you probably share with your friends on Instagram or Facebook. For example, let's take this meme. Life. You didn't do your taxes, you're going to jail. Me. The mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. Life. Do you know what taxes are? Me. Sokotoa. Yes. I kept seeing memes like this about how confusing or annoying things like budgeting, saving, keeping up with payments, and paying off debts like student loans and credit card debt are. And this made me curious as to how hard it actually is. So I started talking to my siblings, parents, cousins, and older friends, and I came to the conclusion that the reason why these things are considered confusing or annoying is because these concepts are being thrown at people straight out of high school with no previous exposure. They have to get familiar with these concepts very quickly or risk extremely serious consequences. But this is all a curiosity. The reason why I decided to make this the subject of my TED Talk was an experience that happened to me, and I'm going to share that story with you today. You see, me and my family were coming back from a nice dinner, and we decided to pick up some chocolate as dessert. I was given the arduous task of selecting the chocolate, and I tend to think I have great taste, right? So after I'm done with selecting, I go to the counter to pay my bill. The bill was double the budget. Needless to say, the walk back to the car to ask for more was embarrassing. Not for any other reason, but I realized something. I realized that I know nothing about this topic. This topic that I'm going to be interacting with very soon, in about 2 years when I graduate. And I don't know anything about it. I also realized something else. But why isn't school teaching me about this? School, a place where I'm supposed to develop and gain knowledge essential for life. Why am I learning about geometric sequences when I could learn about how to buy a house? Why am I learning about Lord of the Flies when I could be learning about investments and savings? And after looking into this more, I found that I'm not alone. According to the Wells Fargo Millennial Survey, 4 in 10 millennials don't save. Now I can see you saying, but aren't these millennials? People from 22 to 30? They're still so young, let them spend their money. But this same attitude is what leads to older people relying on their children or their government for money. In Japan, elderly people are intentionally committing crimes because jail offers the distinguishing feature of no rent. In In South Africa, according to the 2017 Old Mutual Corporate Monitor, more than a quarter of working South Africans don't have any formal retirement savings. Right here in Kenya, we're not going to be able to pay our pensioners, which will no doubt be financially disastrous for the people relying on this money for their retirement. This would lead to old, retired people, people beyond the age of work, in poverty and without a solution. This is heartbreaking to me. I want to give everyone a scenario. Picture this. An 18-year-old, straight out of high school, gets a job in college. They're earning quite a bit of money with this job, so they can cover all of their expenses and have some disposable income on the side. If they don't know what to do with it, it's very likely that they'll start to spend this income on things like going out to bars and nightclubs more frequently, things that they don't need. In fact, according to the LendEDU College Students and Personal Finance study, 25% reported that drugs and alcohol were their biggest expense monthly. This relates to my previous point because bars and nightclubs are unique in that they're a place where these substances are readily available and expensive, which makes it the perfect combination for a college student who just got their paycheck and wants to turn up, right? But don't ask me how I know this. Seriously, my parents are in the audience. However, this can take different routes because 8% reported that clothing was their biggest expense, indicating some degree of overspending on clothing due to disposable income. From the same study, it was found that 58% don't save, and 59% would give themselves a C- for managing their money. Even if 1% don't give themselves at least an A, it is a massive problem. Because, granted, you can pass a class with C-, but with money, it dictates most of your day-to-day life and your future. So you can't afford not to be extremely proficient with it. As a longtime comic book fan, I've always been a fan of the character of Spider-Man. His core tenet has always been, with great power comes great responsibility. And I think the same principle can be applied here, with a few adjustments, of course. You see, the power is simply the power that one commands when they have money. Money, for all intents and purposes, is power. That's unfortunate, but it's another topic for another talk. The responsibility, in this case, is one you have to yourself, to save, to pay off your debts, to balance your budget, to, simply put, be financially responsible. This lesson in responsibility needs to be taught somehow, right? And this brings me to my solution. Trust me, it's a lot simpler than fighting crime in a spandex suit. It's just to start educating our youth on personal finance through a class, just like we teach math, English, or biology. I'd make it mandatory to do for every student, since it's quite important that each student has a firm understanding on personal finance by the time they graduate. Personal finance is an essential part of everyone's lives post-high school. So the fact that there's no interest in it from education systems is quite frankly appalling, and a matter that's worthy of discussion to me. Africa has been historically a consumer rather than a producer, which has driven our continental economy into a state of stagnation. By offering personal finance literacy, we're paving the way for the next generation of African business leaders, which will not only promote economic growth, but economic development overall. Thank you.